Okay, so welcome to Awaken Your Soul Now podcast. I'm Caroline. I'm your host, and I have a lovely guest today, Elaine Godley. I'm thinking of spirituality right ahead. So, Elaine, tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Gosh, okay. Well, I'm now a health mentor. I'm a master health mentor, published author, keynote speaker, and founder of the Perfect Health Hub, which is an online repository for lots of articles on how to recover from various illnesses, or better still, not get it in the first place. So that's kind of what I do now. And amongst that, we have health networking, we have a drop-in health surgery, we have a Friday Health Club with guest speakers, and I also host a podcast. But I didn't always do that. That's the last kind of 10, 15 years. But prior to that, I was a business consultant. I ran law firms and accountancy practices. I had my own business in the kitchen industry. I managed a band. I was a policewoman. All kinds of interesting things have happened to me over the years.
Yeah, I see. I feel like, wow, you're such a mentor for so many people out there. And I was just thinking, like, is there something you haven't done? It sounds like you do
Yeah,
so
actually,
much.
there's not a lot that I haven't done in one way or another, either for me or helping other people. Perhaps I've run charities, I've set up and run charities for various different activities and so on as well.
So what's is because you have done so much and I have a lot of questions, but I'm just going to go back to the step is what is your main natural force, of motivation or inspiration of doing this in the first place? How did you
I'm really
re-
not sure. I'm really not sure. I think I was born with positivity and an inspirational nature. I'm not what we call a high D and a high I profile. So I specialize in the DISC model of behavioral profiling, and I've actually created my own model which links in with health. So that's about looking at people's behavior style, and my behavior style lends itself to naturally be optimistic, getting things done, high energy, and not taking no for an answer. So when I was given less than a year to live 9 years ago, that wasn't going to happen to me. So my personality style then came into really, really good help for me.
Wow. So it's you have a deep personal connection to health as well.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, various other things have happened health-wise, which is why I've graduated towards health and well-being. And I'm a qualified nutritionist and biohacker these days. So I've done lots of training. I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm always learning from doctors. I devour 2 or 3 audiobooks a week at times on different health topics. So there's always something we can learn. Every day I'm learning something, and it's invariably about health these days.
Wow. And what are your thoughts about if you look I'm in Sweden and you're in where are you?
Yeah, I'm the Algarve in Portugal.
In Portugal, right. And I was just thinking the people I see here in Sweden, I have a teacher. I have a past as a teacher. And what you can see right now is the total, I think it's global as well, but you see many people do have they have troubles with mental health,
Yes.
keeping up a force of joy to live and a joy to do stuff and joy to be curiosity, all of this. And how can you, in all of your work, can you see how curiosity and the force of will and decision, how does that play in uh,
I go back all the time to behavioral profiling, because when you know who you are and you know what drives you, what makes you tick, what helps you to be you, then you have a better chance of being more grounded and standing in your own power. When people are constantly told they're not good enough, they're not tall enough, they're too fat, they're this, they're that, all these things, and all the peer pressure we have in social media these days, it's no wonder we have this epidemic of mental illness. I prefer to look at things in a way of a friend who's a consultant in this field. He talks about mental fitness. So when you say, and the word mental, for years, it's been given the kind of dodgy impression. As soon as you say the
Mhm.
word, it's like, oh dear, what's wrong? There's, something not right. mental fitness is we talk about physical fitness. Why don't we talk about mental fitness? So the more you know about you, what you can do that's very, very good. So for example, when I was in corporate for many years, I used to get frustrated at training programs that we designed to help people be better at the things they're not very good at. I take a completely different view. Look at what you're good at, know what you're good at, excel in that, and then by default the other things will raise up. And who cares if you're not good at everything? Nobody can be, but together as a team in collaboration we can get everything done.
That's so true. I love that. I love that. How do you say? Um, top. I've been speaking too much Swedish. The how do you say? The direction of thinking. The goal thinking is like do what you do best. And I was thinking because I've been a lot of meeting teenagers, and I feel in here in Sweden we have a big problem in healthcare, in the public healthcare, that a lot of children don't go to school. They're called home sitters or home, you know, they miss out on education and they miss out on life, and they have a very hard time to get, you know, like I say, motivated or inspired to do something. And when you say like that, get good to find out what you're good at. Do you have any practical first tips to take if you're like this young adult, or because I know this podcast is for young adults also?
Yes, yeah. So I've been doing this for over 30 years with the behavioral profiling. And I used to, when I first got trained, I would volunteer in schools and I was mentoring head teachers, senior management teams, and classroom assistants and so on in the UK. And one day a head teacher came to me. She said, I love all this stuff. It's really helped our senior management team to gel better. We now understand that we can't all be good at everything, but collectively we're a good team. However, how do I get this stuff into the classroom? My students are 5, 6, 7 years old. So how do we do that? So we had a brainstorm. We came up with a slide of cards with pictures. So using the DISC mnemonic, a DISC, D is about being direct, I is about being inspiring, S is about being supportive, and C is about being conscientious. And each of those characteristics have different attributes. So if you were to hold a card up, so the animal representation, D is the lion, so very direct, very task driven, getting things done, bit bossy maybe. You have the butterfly, which you have behind you on your screen. You have a butterfly or a dolphin. Sometimes I normally use a dolphin, but sometimes use a butterfly. So that's about being friendly, open, light-hearted, inspirational, again, getting things done, but doing it with fun. Then you have the puppy dog or a little lamb. So somebody who's soft and gentle, kind, thoughtful, caring, considerate, all that lovely stuff. And then you have what's the other one? The other one's an owl. So the C, the conscientious, is all about doing things in a way that's thoughtful. It's through a process. It's working out logical side of things. So you can see all of those animals, D, I, S, and C, the lion, the dolphin, or the butterfly, the lamb, or the puppy dog, and the owl. If you were to ask a child or an adult, which of those, one or two behaviors would you be if you were an animal? Sure as eggs are eggs, they will tell you who they are. And intuitively, that's who you are, because you gravitate towards those kind of behaviors.
So true. And I love the way you approach this, because in my experience it's more like you have these opportunities. Which one would you like to be, or you're striving to be, not who you really are.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So this also is I think it's a society thing that we teach people to strive towards something always. We always get to run towards something. We don't look what we really got, and the natural
all the answers are inside. All the answers ever are inside us. They're in our head, they're in our body. Our body tells us. So if we're doing something that we're not naturally gifted at, our whole body will tense up, will be our body language will be negative. We won't be looking forward to something. We'll be working against it. And then, of course, if we're working against something, we're not going to be good at it, and we're going to give a poor performance. So why put yourself in a situation which doesn't serve you? Look for opportunities that do serve you. Understand who you are. So, for example, people think I'm organized. I'm not organized, really. I like things to be organized, but don't expect me to do it. But I have people who do that for me. And other people I can call on. So don't stress about it. Just acknowledge something that you're not good at, but don't harp on about it. Don't keep on, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, because you can get better. We can all improve. And we just do that by stretching goals very slightly. Each time we do something that we thought we weren't good at, we can get a little bit better, and in the next time a little bit better, and so on. It's like learning to drive a car. When you first get in a car, oh my goodness, where do you start? And then before you know where you are, you're driving along, you think, oh, how did I get here? Because you're going at the subconscious level. There's so many different opportunities that people miss out because they listen to other people who tell them you can't do this, you can't do that. Yes, you can do whatever you want to do, your choice.
Exactly. And I was actually listening to a flow summit that's going on this week in Unity Sweden, and I know it's Unity Europe. They have a lot of I think like Joe Dispenza or all of the scientists that works with biohacking and the alchemistry. I just love it. I love nature and science and the way it combines. And the beautiful thing is they found that the spiritual side and the science side is actually, you can see so much more connection there, because the past time we humans have like tried to put labels on everything and tried to separate them. And now it feels like everything is trying to evolve into connection again. It goes, segregate and integrate. So what's your if you had a glass to look for the future, what do you think is most important to the younger generation, if you have some wise words?
Okay, so I'm literally last week I set up another company, which is in England we call it a community interest company, which is a not-for-profit, and we're going to be working with schools and organisations around the world, starting in England and then Europe and who knows where. Exactly what you're talking about, the education. We have a big home education tribe, shall we say, in England. So a lot of people now aren't sending their children to school because what they're taught in school, sit there, put up, shut up, don't ask questions. If you're curious, you're a troublemaker, as I was at school, which is why I got trained into the behavioural profiling, so I could understand and help other people. So looking forward, this not-for-profit that we set up, it's called Bridging Generations Together. And it's about how we can learn from the older people. So years ago, when I grew up, we had grandma, Asian families do this very well, where they all actually live together in tribal communities. They all live together. The grand old, great grandmother, whoever, or great grandfather will be telling stories about how life was when they were younger and so on, which we're losing all of that because everybody's into social media. We need to talk to people, we need to communicate. And how often do you go out and you find that there's people about, but they're not talking, they're not communicating. So we're concentrating on 3 topics: home, health and history, and those pretty much can cross any areas of the curriculum within schools or home education. And we're going to be creating lots of different resources through people. People will be creating the resources, people will be telling stories, and the younger people will be learning and hopefully listening and learning, and then taking whatever action, thinking about the stories of what they've been taught, because nothing's new. At the end of the day, everything goes round in circles, whether it's fashions or the way we live. We're now going back to olden days. people think all this, you know, this climate change stuff, they think that the recycling thing, that's all new. No, it's not. We did it years ago. We did it because we didn't know any different. We didn't have as many resources. We didn't have this throwaway lifestyle that we now have. Everything was made, our clothes are made of cotton and linen from the plants, from the fields, or wool from the animals, with, you know, the sheep's wool and so on. We didn't have shopping bags. We had string bags that we made ourselves. We used paper bags for bread and things like this. We didn't have plastic. Plastic wasn't on the planet when I was younger. So now we've created, society's created all this nonsense around all this, and it's all lifestyle. So we're even eating plastic. So, you know, in comes the health thing. If you're not eating healthily, you're not feeding your mind either, because your gut and your mind, your brain are connected. There's the vagus nerve, which goes from the lower part of your torso up through into the brain, and there's a direct connection. So if you're feeding yourself rubbish, you get rubbish. You get brain fog, fatigue, all this sort of thing, illnesses. So let's go back to basics.
Exactly. And I love this because I'm also, I remember when I was teaching, I see in Sweden here, and especially in the main capitals, when you see in the morning in the subway, so many young people, you know, they take a smoke and they take a Red Bull for breakfast. And I was like, whoa, exactly. I was like, is this our future? You know, this is my big why I'm doing also this, because I want to help children to teach this, and also change addiction to sugar, addiction to the sleeping cycle also.
Yeah.
And I think it's so great that you're doing this, because it's so right now, because, you know, it feels like when you look at, I don't look at news so much, but thing is, it's always in a negative circle, and people have to know that that's also an addiction, you can say, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would also recommend that young people don't listen to the news, because it's all biased, it's all manipulated. Anything in the mainstream is already, there are, I think it's something like 6 families that own all of the media in the whole world. And when we have things going on in the world where the governments want to manipulate us into behaving in a certain way, it will all be done through the news channels and propaganda. And you know, you're feeding yourself with mind numbing nonsense. And if you're eating processed foods or ultra processed foods, drinking out of soda cans, that type of thing, even, you know, the cans, inside the cans, there's plastic, there's a plastic liner inside the cans. So you're actually eating, no, not eating, you're drinking plastic. So it's a build up. And a lot of young people think, oh, you know, I'm what's the word? I'm indestructible, you know, I'm Superman or Superwoman. Well, yes, in your 20s, fine. But once you get to about 25, things start going downhill, our body changes. And if you've been feeding it rubbish, then guess what's going to happen? Your body's going to start breaking down.
Exactly. And this is happening on the inside. So it doesn't, you can't see it right from the outside, judging by the type of body you have. So this is so important to have this knowledge, to understand how your body is working. And like you said, this is such vital information right now, because the schools don't, sorry, they don't give a shit. They don't,
That's
tell you
that's
anything about
another
it.
place for manipulation. All you're taught in school is to sit there, put up, shut up. You're taught what the governments, not the teachers, want to tell you. There's so many teachers coming out of teaching because they can't cope with it anymore. There's so many doctors coming out of medical care because they know that medication isn't the answer. We need to get to the root cause of whatever's wrong with our body. And invariably it's lifestyle and it's emotions. And emotions are huge. Every illness on the planet has an emotional root cause for it, every single illness. And so eating very well, eating organically, plain food, good water, not usually from the tap, I have various devices that go through my water go through before I would even drink. When I go out, I never touch anything in plastic bottles, because when the plastic bottle is warm, that chemical in the plastic comes into the drink, and again you're drinking chemicals. It's really not good for the body, and it's a build-up. I could go on forever.
You're such like a huge bank of information, and I just love this. I get like that, and because I was thinking about reflecting on the young people I meet today, and it sounds like what I've been seeing in schools, in teenage people, is there are horrible violence in the classroom. You can't put a lid on that because this is happening. But I believe it's also because the teenagers don't get enough, how do you say, motivation, or they're not like pushed enough.
Yeah,
Try to learn
they're not
this.
stimulated. Yeah, there's
Stimulated.
no
Thank you.
stimulation. Yeah.
So, because how to change this is also something I really love, because also believe we can't have this old institution that school is right now. We have to put that down. That time has left. We have to build it in another way. And I really love the metaphor you said about the tribes, and remember how they tell stories around the fire and stuff like this. And this is the human connection. So it's so natural. The classroom with one teacher trying to tell you all this. In Sweden, we call it korvstoppning. It's like sausage. You put in the shell. It's just sausage, and
Yes.
it's stuck. Yeah. So
Actually, I did
yeah.
some work some years ago. I did the work I mentioned with the head teachers and the senior management teams, but then I also did some work with a pupil referral unit. And in England, they call them PRUs, pupil referral unit. Basically, they've been referred out of mainstream education because they're troublesome in some way or another. So there's this unit of people who are there for various different reasons. And every time I went in there, the young people, typically teenagers, maybe 14 to 16-year-olds, I did profiling work with them so they could see who they are, what their strengths are. So I would mentor them, talking about their strengths and the stories and examples and so on. And I can tell by looking at a behavior pattern the likelihood of somebody being ill. And obviously I've got the training now with being a nutritionist to help them fix that, but also how the behavior is affecting their life. So it's, life mentoring is really important, because so many of the children, so many people, not just children, but so many people don't present their true selves. They're themselves at home. Then when they go in public, whether it's a school or a workplace or whatever it is, they present in a way that they think they should be behaving in. So possibly what they're doing requires them to behave in a certain way, but most of the time they're being somebody they're not. So you can't always tell when you meet somebody whether they're a lion or a dolphin or a butterfly, whatever you can't always tell that from first off, because you could be looking at the mask, you could be communicating with the mask rather than the real person. So that's why DISC behavioral profiling that I do, I call it DISC plus, because it's DISC plus health. And that then helps the individual to know what they're good at, how it's affecting their health and well-being, how they can manage themselves better. And then we get into the realms of emotion intelligence, which is all about understanding what your strengths are, what your limitations are. And I don't use the word weaknesses. We don't have weaknesses, we have limitations. So the language we use is really important. Language we use in public and language we use to ourselves, very, very important to keep it as positive as possible.
Exactly. How I was thinking, you said about connection to an emotion. I was
Yes.
thinking in this is, I'm not using any statistics or anything. I'm just thinking we have a big war going on in Europe. We haven't had a war in ages this close. I know in Sweden we have a big goal in the country to reach some kind of green, we call it green nourishment or green, business. The industry is trying to make everything low carb, low carb, low.
Carbon. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, low carbon. Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you, carbon. And I was thinking like these are high demands and high expectations, and this rubs off of the younger people because they are part of the society. So how do you, in your knowledge and all your experiences, how can you give some tip to deal with fear that maybe we can't change climate, maybe this war will come closer, or how do you proceed with the disc, or if you can give any tip to the people that feel fear that make them paralyzed not to
Yeah.
do anything. Yeah.
So the world runs on two emotions mainly, fear and love. We're
Mm.
either in fear or we're in love. So those who live in the fear paradigm, you get what you sow. You sow what you reap. Is that no? You reap what you sow. The saying. So if you're in a fear state, then you're attracting fearful things. If you're in a flow state of love, then you're going to be more in harmony with the people who are in your tribe. So I don't resonate with everybody on the planet. I've got a certain frequency, you have a certain frequency, every living person has a different frequency. So kind of you if you look around you, they say we're the sum total of the five people that we've spent most time with, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether it's co-workers, whatever it is. So look around you, look at the five people that are most close to you and that you spend more time with, not necessarily close to, but maybe you spend more time with these people. It is very likely not even your family, but whoever these people are, look at how they behave. Are they more positive? Are they more negative? Can you identify which animal they might be or which animal they're pretending to be? There's all these little things that you can do, but when you're standing in your own power, your own grounded knowledge that you are good at certain things, you are a behavior type that lends itself towards this style or that style, work with that style, whatever that style is. And going back to the children, the young people in the pupil referral unit, every single time when I went into the conversations, they were put down by the teachers and the system because they were asking questions, they were curious. And to me, I would round them all up and I'd start them off in business, because people who are curious maybe don't conform, as I've never done, then you've got the beginnings of a very good business person. Somebody's creative, thinking outside the box.
So true. I just love that because I've started my I haven't reached that far. I'm just new in my business. I've been thinking about it for ages, but now I'm taking the step as the butterfly. I think I am a butterfly in the dolphin. I can resonate a lot with that, or the puppy. But what I was thinking, yeah, because I also heard about this in the Flow Summit that fear and courage are almost identical in energies, or you have to have courage and fear together to move forward. Do
Yeah,
you any?
I totally agree with that. I've had the privilege of being trained years ago, back in the 90s, by Bob Proctor, who died a couple of years ago. So I was very fortunate. I was in a room with only about, I don't know, 15 or 20 people, with Bob teaching us his work. And for those who don't know about him, you may have heard of Tony Robbins. Bob Proctor was kind of the grandfather to not physical grandfather, but the kind of aged, wise mentor, tribal person, shall we say. He's one of the first people who picked up on the personal development movement, and he spent his whole life teaching the book of Napoleon Hill, So go out and get, in fact, you don't even need to go out. It's on YouTube. There's a free YouTube video, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And there's another one of his about the devil. It's called Outwitting the Devil. So Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Those two are free on YouTube, and they are very, very, very old. They're over 100 years old now. And the first one, Think and Grow Rich, Bob spent his whole life teaching that, and I've taught in schools as well, the principles. And I recently did a masterclass podcast myself where I took the principles of Think and Grow Rich, which in essence is a business book, but I related it to health and well-being. So somewhere out there, there's a podcast on that on my site, displus.health. There's a guest interview section. The Outwitting the Devil, that was only released a few years ago by Napoleon Hill's family because it's so powerful. The governments of the day wanted to suppress it, so they kept it kind of in the archives, and it only came out recently. So it's very, very, both books are very, very good.
I will actually link it to this podcast if they're on YouTube, because I agree so much, because this could be like 10 more episodes. But I was thinking about you know, the old society have this structure that now is, my belief is that it's falling apart because we have to build something new. And I'm not as educated as you, but I can feel this in the energy, feeling in the energy shifting. And I was thinking, like, what can you, for young adults or all that are in this old structure, what's the first thing to be awakened to try to release from it, or how to you know, try to separate yourself from it, to get maybe distance, maybe be the answer here. But do you have any insight on this that you have seen in your work?
It's very difficult. It's a great question, but it's a very difficult one to answer because everybody is different. And I find in my experience that most people who make changes in their life aren't regular people. They're people who are more curious. They're the courageous rather than the fearful ones. And both of those are very powerful energies. And the D and the I are typically the leaders, shall we say, and the S and the C styles are typically the followers. Collectively, we have a whole, you know, great team, but many people in society are the S and the C type. So lawyers, accountants, engineers, they're very kind, thoughtful people. They want to help. They go into the professions to help. They do things in a logical, structured way, but then usually, very often, obviously I'm generalizing hugely here, they're often not the courageous ones. The courageous ones are the ones that get themselves into trouble, like myself. So whether you're talking about business or a career or health, each of these behavior styles lend themselves to different characteristics and different outcomes, different ways of dealing with life. So it really depends on the individual as to what their leading styles are, as to what path they then take. And there's no right or wrong. We have the profile we have. We have our, you know, we were born with genes from our parents, or our, you know, whatever they're called these days. I mean, I can't keep up with all that stuff.
No, of course.
So yeah, and then with the first 7 years of our life, we are fed the cultural, educational, environmental manipulation, whatever, of what's going on around us. We have no choice. So up to the age of 7, all the psychologists agree the lid is on by the time of 7, 8 years old, which is why when people have problems later on in life, the psychologist will take you back to the childhood to find out what the trigger is. And there are now so many health routes that you can unravel all of that stuff. You know, why do I always fear this? Why do I always fear that? It will go back to some trauma, some event in the childhood. So I work with a lot of different healer type of people, therapists, who have got, there's so many different techniques. That's what the hub's all about. It's about sharing information. So if anybody comes to me for my health mentoring, I don't always work with them myself. I will then very likely refer them out to somebody who I can know will help them quicker. But alongside that, it's about nutrition, diet, lifestyle, very, very much so. But we often need more help than that in the psychological realm. And I've got lots of people who can help in different ways.
And I love that, because if you look how also the school, but also the healthcare should have a affinity or reconstruction, right? To associate what you said is about the mental, or the you get the culture, the environmental, but what happens when you're younger? There's no like division for teenagers. Maybe you should go like a teenager. Okay, what happened to you when you were 5 or 6?
Yeah,
To actually reprogram this. They could think of the wave it could be to strengthen them earlier, or around 20 there. You're going a bit over to the adult side. This should be such a good thing to prioritize, because
absolutely. It's not going to happen though, because the big pharma companies, they don't want to cure anything. They want to have customers. You know, it's a great business model. They give you something like an injection of some kind that causes some kind of problem, and then they go, oh, we've got this medication over here, this will help you. So, you know, they give you the problem and then they feed you the answer, and it's all money. It's a money go round. The same as wars. Wars are funded by the same the same people who fund one side fund the other side. And then when they've trashed a country, they'll go in and they'll give all their mates contracts to rebuild. So it's all about money. It's a really very corrupt society we live in today, and it's awful, absolutely awful.
Yeah, and that's what, if people heard what the Matrix, people call the Matrix,
Yeah,
that's the
yes,
exactly right, the thing
totally,
on the
totally. And that
Matrix.
was all of that was predicted years ago. So what we're going through now is no surprise. But where things are getting interesting is because we've now got the internet. So the last 4 years of what I call nonsense has led to more people being awakened and activating their own selves. So look inside you. You have all the answers inside you, even though the world might not be such a wonderful place in certain areas. Look at the beauty around you. Look at the nature, the skies, the sunshine, the butterflies, you know, the birds. There's so many lovely things. You know, go for a walk. Getting fresh air every day is really important. Not sitting at a computer and putting your head down on your phone and what have we. So try and get a mix every day of eating well, then you'll sleep well, be hydrated, and drinking fizzy drinks is not hydrating you. Drinking coffee is not hydrating you, it's taking away. And if your organs in your body don't have enough liquid of the right sort, they will start to shrivel, and then you get problems with all your organs, your liver, your kidneys, your heart, you know, etc.
Wow. And this sounds so simple, and it sounds so natural, you know. Of course, that leads to this. It sounds so
And
obvious. You're still,
it is
yeah.
simple. It's not
And
easy,
we're
but it's simple, which is you know, sounds
mm,
nonsense. But I was given less than a year to live in 2015, and unless I did what the doctors told me to, me being me, you know, no way I'm going to do all that stuff. So I was very um clear on what I was going to do, and I turned around stage 4 cancer in 4 months. So
oh,
anything possible. I left school with not very much qualifications. I did a master's degree and graduated when I was 40. So to any young person out there listening, you whatever you want to do, you might not be able to do it in the time frame you want, but you can work towards whatever the thing is that you want to do. Know yourself, be yourself.
exactly. And don't be afraid to look inwards, because the answers may be not seeing outwards, but you have it
Oh,
in you.
totally.
Yeah. Lovely. Is there anything else you want to give? You have given us so many good tips. And is there a last thing you want to say
No,
before?
no, just maybe rewind this uh, tape, stop the recording at different places, make some notes. There's loads more, but it's nice. It's a nice conversation we've had, but there's loads more. I'm sure that we can talk about maybe in the future. Who knows?
Of course, yeah, I would love to. And if people want to know more about you, Elaine, how can they reach out to you?
Okay, so my scan the picture on the screen here and register. That's the free hub resource where there's lots and lots of articles. I'm writing articles all the time, every day I'm adding to it. So that's a free resource. Um, I'm on LinkedIn, Elaine Godley, the disc profiler on LinkedIn, and my main website is discplus.health, DISCPLUS, discplus.health.
I can add that too if you send me that
Yeah,
one. So thank you so much, Elaine. It was so, inspiring and enlightening to have all of this beautiful projects and businesses that you are creating. You're really changing the world, I
I'm doing
think.
my best. Yeah, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I play pickleball, badminton, Pilates. I've just taken on two big rescue dogs. I've got a very active social life. So keeping everything in balance, that's key. Actually, that's a good part of finishing notes. Make sure everything is in balance. So if you do things that aren't quite right for your health or your mind or whatever, make sure you're balancing it out with good stuff. So 80% good, 20% you could be naughty. That's fine.
Love it. Thank you so much, Elaine.
You're
Um,
welcome.
thank you.